What if? Episode 3. What if the Avengers never assembled? Interesting tale, because the original Avengers, there were 6 of them, and this tells the story of what happens if they never form. And it's both very interesting, but also, so let's get right into it. So, as we're going down the line, it starts with Tony Stark and Samuel Jackson. He came back to voice Nick Fury. You can obviously tell the actors who really care about this Marvel stuff because they actually did the voiceovers, and you can tell which ones didn't because they didn't do the voiceovers for their own characters. So, they take us back to Iron Man 2, actually. The scene where Stark is on top of the donut, and then it shows you Fury and Romanoff going in because, remember, he had that cancer or whatever that was getting into his heart, and his neck was all blue and everything. And then Romanoff, she gives him the shot, and then the shot was supposed to, cure him for a little bit, but it wasn't a permanent solution. But now, in What If, because this is a different timeline now, we asked the question, what would happen if that didn't go through? So when Romanoff gives him the shot, it actually ends up killing Tony Stark and he dies. And the government blames Romanoff for it, but Fury knows better. So Fury told her, he was like, listen, you're being set up. Go out there and find out who set you up and let me know what you find. We're then taken to the first Thor movie where, Thor was in exile and he didn't have the hammer because he was not worthy. And then it shows, Barton, it shows Phil Coulson. They're all got, surrounding the hammer. But the funny thing about it is, in the original Thor movie, Fury wasn't in the scene. And in this movie, but in this timeline, Fury actually showed up to Mexico for the whole Thor. So Fury was actually there during the Thor situation when Thor was trying to get his hammer back. And then they give us the scene where Barton is on top of the roof. He's hanging from the ceiling. Thor walks up to the hammer. He gets ready to take the hammer to find out that he can't pull it. And then while Barton is up there, Barton's got the bow and arrow on him. And he's just like, give me a shot, boss. He's like, give me a sign because I'm about to root for this guy. Barton basically let go of the arrow. He fired the arrow, and then he shot Thor in the chest, and he killed Thor. And after he killed Thor, they locked up Barton, and then Barton was just like, oh, I don't understand how this happened. I didn't do this. Has been she's been framed, and now Tony Stark is gone. While that was happening, Romanoff basically, she went down to this now takes us to the Edward Thornton the Edward Norton Thornton. This now takes us to the Edward Norton Hulk film where he was at the college with his girlfriend and they were trying to figure out what was wrong with him. Romanoff shows up to go talk to the girlfriend because Romanoff needed to she wanted her to analyze the shot that they gave Tony Stark. And she was acting kind of weird, but she still did it. And it was kind of awkward knowing the fact that Bruce ended up being with both of them. So, she analyzes it, and then she's just like, oh, she was just like, oh, the cure for Tony Stark never even came out of the vial. Something got shot into his system instead. And then, Romanoff ends up getting the call from Fury. And then, he tells her that Barton's dead. And then she gets upset because Barton's dead. And then he's just like, oh, you got to find Bruce, he got to find Bruce Banner, because at that point, Fury had come to the conclusion that somebody's actually targeting the Avengers list. So then, and he was just like, well, Bruce Banner was also on that list. And then, Romanoff was like, well, I've got Bruce Banner hiding in the closet. She pulls out Bruce Banner. And then they take us to the scene where General Ross ends up rolling up on the college and tries to capture Bruce Banner. And then that's when he hulks out and he destroys the entire college. Only this time, Romanoff was actually there when the whole thing went down, when they were trying to get the Hulk. And then while they were trying to get the Hulk, they ended up shooting him in the shoulder. Bruce Banner ends up hulking out. And then while Bruce Banner ended up hulking out, he basically got too big. His muscles grew. He got overwhelmed and his body basically exploded. And that was gross. And then after he died, then that's when Romanoff was just like, well, shit, I got to figure out what's going on here. It was nice to have Coulson back because Coulson voiced his own character. Romanoff ends up going to some random library. She ends up hacking into S.H.I.E.L.D. files to find out who's targeting the Avengers list. And then when she finds out who the person is targeting the list, she calls Fury, but then she gets attacked from behind by that person. And then, when Fury's answer machine comes on, he's like, leave a message. She just screams, it's all about hope. It's all about hope, while she's getting beat up. And then, after that, Romanoff died, and then we ended up losing Romanoff. So, but because the whole point of the Avengers movie was Loki. Loki was basically coming to Earth and he was trying to take over the world because he was the villain of the whole film. And here, Why would that not still happen? Because now there are no Avengers that are there to stop Loki. But the difference is Loki showed up to get vengeance for Thor because he found out that they killed Thor. And for Loki, I don't know why he would care, but unless it's like, I guess because he's the king of Asgard now, because I assuming that Odin was in the Odin sleep, because he's the king of Asgard now, he has to get vengeance for the fallen prince of Asgard. So Nick Fury's just like, oh, you got to give me some time because I'm trying to find out who killed him as well, because he also killed, whoever this person is also killed people that I knew. And then he was like, you have until the sun rises on Midgard in order to find out my brother's killer. So then, like Fury ends up, he hears Romanoff's message. And then he finds out what the message means. He finds out, he encrypts the message, and then, he calls Loki, and then he goes down to San Francisco. So he's in San Francisco, and he's standing over the grave of Hope. Hope, which is Hank Pym's daughter, in the Ant-Man films. And while he's standing over her grave, because it said that beloved agent, sister, daughter, or whatever, we find out that, because remember, like in the Ant-Man films, Hank Pym and his wife, they were both members of S.H.I.E.L.D. They were Ant-Man and the Wasp. And during an adventure, like his wife, it's like she died, she quote unquote died, or she ended up in the quantum realm. Fury ended up recruiting Hope, and he recruited Hope into S.H.I.E.L.D., and she became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. And she ended up dying the same way that her mother died, which means both of them were basically in the quantum realm, but she died as well. And Hank Pym basically lost his shit because he lost his wife and then he lost his daughter. So because he lost his wife and because he lost his daughter, he blamed S.H.I.E.L.D. for the whole thing. He was like, it was S.H.I.E.L.D.'s fault. S.H.I.E.L.D. is too powerful. And Hank Pym basically targeted the Avengers list. They showed him killing Tony Stark, killing the Hulk. They showed him killing Thor. Like, they showed him murdering the entire Avengers group. And then after that, when he was just like, oh, I'm going to stop this Avengers initiative once and for all, in that moment, I was kind of like, yo, where the hell is Cap? Because at first I was like, well, maybe we've got Peggy Carter because we got Agent Carter because of the first episode. But then I'm like, no, we're doing multiple timelines. So the timeline where the Avengers died, that's a different timeline. Like none of these cartoons or none of these episodes are connected in the same timeline. They're all different specific timelines. So, so then then after that, then Fury got Hank to actually admit that he killed Thor. And then when he admitted it, then, then Fury turned into Loki. We find out that, Fury was Loki in disguise. And then once Hank admitted that he killed Thor, Loki snatched up, Hank Pym and took him back to Asgard for torture and punishment. Then after that, then he was just like, oh, thank you for finding my brother's killer. Then he was just like, not a problem. He was like, so I guess you're headed back to your world. And then Loki's like, no, I think I'm going to stick around and I'm going to rule as I do because there's no one here to stop me now. So then Loki ends up taking over the world because, again, there are no Avengers to stop him now. So, like, he's the king of the world now. He's like, Midgard, your place is but on your knees, begging to the king of the world and blah, blah, blah. And now because of that, Fury has to put a team together to now stop him. But he was just like, he was doing his own voice narration at the end. And then he said that, like in the ashes of like, avenging, like when the world is fallen, heroes will rise to avenge it. And then they showed us the scene where Fury found the ice that Captain America was buried in, and he ended up like wiping it, and we saw the shield. And then when he looked at him, he was like, welcome back, Captain. And then we assumed he was talking about Captain America, but then when the camera panned over, we saw Carol, and then it was like Captain Marvel, and then she was just like, yeah, Fury. She was like, what are the orders? Who do we got to beat up? And that's how the episode ended. So now we got Captain America, Steve Rogers, and we also got, we got Captain Marvel. So there was 2 people, and I guess he'll find like 4 more people or whoever, and then they end up putting a team together. Maybe they'll go get T'Challa because, again, he's Star-Lord in a different universe. So that was that. That was it, and that was pretty cool. Like I said, kudos to Samuel Jackson for doing his own voiceover, and the story was interesting because it's basically the same story. It's just a different group of Avengers now. It's like a different group of people, but we're still taking down the exact same threat. So nothing too much changed. The Watcher's face was all over this damn episode. Like, he was hiding in the sky. He was hiding in the trees. You saw him like in the clouds or whatever. So I don't know what that means. But as he said, all I do is observe. I don't interfere. And again, like I said, these stories are cool. This was a cool episode. But again, like, aside from just like telling a cool tale, for the kids, you know, nothing's, like I said, nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna come from this. So I don't really take the what if thing seriously. Maybe the Watcher shows up live action at some point, but like I said, but these stories that they're telling have nothing to do with it. Like I said, they're just what if stories, and then that's pretty much it. But they're still cool stories nonetheless. Not sure what the 4th episode is. But I say we'll review it when it comes out, and we'll share our thoughts, questions, and or concerns. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you thought about this particular episode. It was nice to actually see Bruce Banner, like the Bruce Banner, like Edward Norton Hulk film get a reference. Like it was cool to see, like how all certain things unfold. I could do without the jokes about, like Coulson, with the Captain name and the Thor hair and everything. But that's it. This is nice. Like it's a nice little escape from, like what we know as the current Marvel universe. So thanks for tuning in. Definitely hit that notification bell so you know when other videos pop up, because like I said, I got other videos popping up: Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Stargirl, Titans, and the whole nine. And we'll review everything until we can't review no more. Thanks for tuning in, guys. So what if signing off for the Avengers, well, the Fallen Avengers now. So take care, and until next time, I'm out this.